All right, all guests on 95.7 The Game appear on the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? River Islands in Lathrop. Joining us right now, three-time Super Bowl champ Randy Cross. Hey, Randy, I want to let you in on the conversation we're having today. I was just thinking, the San Francisco 49ers, they're 3-3, and the Dallas Cowboys are 3-3, and Jerry Jones is on Texas radio being very contentious and actually threatening to fire a couple guys who do his talk show because he didn't like the questions. We got Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia getting into it with the fans in Philadelphia. Then knowing he was going to get asked about it, he brings his kids up to the podium, and now that's all they're talking about in Philadelphia. When you played 13 years for the San Francisco 49ers, how would you describe the Bay Area media when you played? Fair, soft, difficult?
A tad bit contentious, but, it kind of is what it is when it comes to the media. I mean, they're not there to make friends or cover you in a way that you may think is fair. Jerry Jones needs to go to Home Depot, send somebody at the Cowboy facility and get about 200 mirrors.
Yeah.
Because if they want to know what the problem is, it's not too far away from what they look in the mirror and see. So,
wow.
Yeah, I mean the Bay Area media was just fine. There was always, 2 or 3 idiots, and right now, if you looked at, everybody that works at the Niners, on the Niners, media-wise, there are 2 or 3 idiots probably in that group that go out of their way to try to be a jerk once in a while. But that's human nature more than anything else.
Right. And you also were a member of the media after your career was over. What was your philosophy, if you will? What did you try to bring in that position?
Well, I was never under the delusion that I was really a part of a journalist.
Okay.
I was a former player who was hired to talk about the game the way I saw it. You occasionally have an opportunity to do some stuff that qualifies. I used to have all the respect in the world for journalism in general. I thought they were amazing with their, probes and things they could do, but that's kind of fallen by the wayside over the last decade or so. But I never really considered myself, to be honest with you, a journalist. I was a member of the media, but I was pretty far from being a journalist in that I was not impartial about the game. I love the game, with everything I have, and I wasn't going to do anything to, endanger it. And that's not something you can usually say about people that cover something.
Wow. Good stuff, Randy. Me and my partner are blessed. We get to share our opinion. Didn't play the game like yourself, a 3-time champ. Kansas City's coming to town. The Niners have lost 2 Super Bowls to them, Randy, and I couldn't wait to ask you this question. Trent Williams said, you know what? This is just another game. And a guy like me fell out of my chair because I'm thinking to myself, Randy, is that leadership to the young guys? But damn it, I'm not Randy Cross, but I'm damn sure going to ask him because, man, yeah, you need this game. But, Randy, you want to extract revenge and send a message. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, but you're not going to say that, Monday or Tuesday of the week of the game. You might say that behind closed doors. You might say that in the locker room to your guys, but you're not going to go out of your way to say that in the media. I mean, before the game, when they have shots of Trent coming out of the tunnel and about to take the field, and you get a chance to see the look in his face, no big deal ain't the first thing that's going to come to mind.
All right. Wow. Yeah. I got you.
Randy Cross joining us on 95.7 The Game, 3-time Super Bowl champion for the San Francisco 49ers. Randy, you've watched this team the last 4 or 5 years. They've had a ton of success. Do they look like the same team through 6 games that we're used to seeing?
No, they don't. But, they had something last year that that we talk about all the time when I have these conversations with you. It's everything a team does in the NFL is pretty much, it's predicated on two things: the weather, which you can't control, and injuries, which you can't control. And last year, the Niners got really lucky with injuries in that they didn't have that many. This year, you can't say that, but they still found a way to be pretty solid. Like you said, I mean, they're 3-3. And Dallas right now would trade in a second, personnel-wise and condition-wise and, you know, feel of the team-wise, you know, to be that kind of 3-3. It's they're getting healthier. They're looking at a game this week where, you know, going up, you got to win all four ways: offense, defense, special teams, and you got to beat the guys in those striped shirts.
Wow. Well, I love that. Hey, Randy, let me ask you this, because you played with many defensive Hall of Famers, and right now I was telling my partner and the fans, I don't recognize this defense, and they got some injuries, no Greenlaw, new coordinator, first-year defensive coordinator in Sorensen. But I called out Bosa. I just wanted to see more. And Thursday night he delivered. He had 14 pressures. But can you share with us what you're seeing from this defense? And can it take it up a notch or two to be considered a championship defense?
Yeah, I believe it can. I mean, there's a few things defensively. You need excellent work at corner. You need heat as far as pass rush goes, and that's something they got. They've got the work at the corners. They've got one of the most amazing defensive players in the league in Warner. What they also need is a presence in the middle on the back end. And hopefully that's something the next little bit that can start coming through for that defense. Because that's, whether it's the intimidating a crossing pattern, whether that's support coming from the inside, once that outside guy sets the edge, you need that bad, especially nowadays, because that can not only mitigate, you know, a tight end or whatnot when it comes to a guy, you know, like Kelsey. It'll also go a long way towards some of those running backs that come smoking through there and think they can run with impunity.
Randy Cross joining us on 95.7 The Game, three-time Super Bowl champion. Randy, as an offensive lineman, the 49ers are without McCaffrey, and Jordan Mason has been the running back, pretty much the primary running back. As an offensive lineman, does the job change depending on the running back, or do the assignments stay the same regardless of the running back?
Yeah, they stay the same. I mean, for something like the offensive line, which can be hard to judge because not that many people know what they're looking at.
Right.
But when you create holes the way they have at times, it makes it a lot easier to look at and evaluate. But no, you can't suddenly, you were going 90%, now you got to go 100. No, they've been playing really well and really hard. I just think it makes a difference. You know, Mason's playing great. I mean, they actually are getting some contributions from guys they were hoping they wouldn't have to know about, but now they know about them. But not having McCaffrey makes a huge difference from the run and pass and the big play standpoint. And that just means the drives maybe 2 or 3 plays longer. I think that's probably the only difference.
Randy, you got me kind of thinking, man. I was telling my partner yesterday, you know, a rivalry doesn't start until the other team wins. And right now, Kyle hasn't beat Andy Reid. So when the dust does settle Sunday at 4:30, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, win or loss, Randy, is this just 1 of 17, or is there something that Kyle needs to do to show he can beat Andy Reid and vice versa with the Niners, you know, getting the chief monkey off their back?
Well, I think the Niner fans would appreciate it if it would happen. But let's be realistic. There's only one game they have to win, and that's the next time they play.
Yeah. Randy Cross joining us on 95.7 The Game. 3-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers. Do you notice that the 49ers are trying to throw it downfield a little bit more? And if you do, how much of that is maybe Kyle's trust in Brock Purdy, or maybe that's the way they're going about it without McCaffrey?
Well, you know, from my perspective, I thought they've always kind of been a chunk team. Whether it was with Debo or Aiyuk, Jennings is now that kind of a guy. Kittle's always been that kind of a guy in the middle. That's just something I don't think you can get around it. You know, that's been an offense and probably an organization that for, hell, going back to when I was playing, you know, people that don't understand that style of offense, they always think of it as kind of a dink and dunk, you know, underneath passing kind of a team. They don't mind throwing it, and they got a quarterback that can throw it. And when he's really dangerous is when he's out of the pocket throwing the ball down the field. So I think Aiyuk's just hitting his stride. I think Debo's always a deep threat, and I think that's an integral part of what they do, and they're going to have to make it work.
I was just about to ask you about Aiyuk. You know that whole contract situation played out publicly, and he's gotten off to a slow start. So when I say Aiyuk, you say what? I think you just answered, basically saying he's starting to hit his stride. But if Niner fans were disappointed, Randy, would that be valid of what they've seen thus far or haven't seen?
If they've been disappointed, look on the bright side. You don't have to sign those checks. But also look at it from an objective standpoint in that, Trent Williams was in the same boat. And, I think he plays the position that's a little harder to evaluate than Aiyuk, where you could look up. Aiyuk can be open on any single play, and I think he's just really hitting things back, and he's back at it. Because I don't care, even if you're in the building, if you're not out there practicing, your timing's not there with the quarterback. It takes a while to get there. But just from watching the last game or so, I think they're there.
Randy, I'm always kind of curious because when the San Francisco 49ers lost in the NFC Championship game to the Rams, they had beaten them, I think, 8 straight times in the regular season. And then in the big one, the Rams won the game. With that in mind, does Sunday's game have anything to do with what may happen if these teams meet in the Super Bowl?
Not really. It'll be at a neutral site. If they meet in the Super Bowl, it's going to be at a pretty nice little place, and for all the marbles in the NFL. So, not really, but it'll be a hell of a motivator for whichever team loses this one tomorrow, especially if it's Kansas City. I think Kansas City, I've been in some of these games against teams where you go in there, you're pretty sure somehow, some way, you're going to win. And I guarantee you, if they were to answer things honestly, you ask that question of Kansas City and these players and these coaches, they would tell you that somehow, some way, we'll find a way to beat these guys because we always do.
Wow. Randy, I'm always asked who my all-time quarterback is, and I always say it's your quarterback, Joe Montana, but I can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is Patrick Mahomes, man. And I hate that history could have been altered. It wasn't. Niners could have actually beat him twice. They didn't. He has 3 Super Bowls. He's this young. Just what do you see from Patrick Mahomes, who's coming in here Sunday? How good is he?
He's as advertised. Let's put it that way. I think he got 2 things going for him. One, he was lucky enough to watch Alex Smith and learn and be a young guy that doesn't have to get thrown to the wolves. And number 2, he came along at the perfect time when the NFL sort of got over themselves and admitted that these offenses these kids are running in 7-on-7 camps and in middle schools and in high schools and in college, it works in the pros, and it's been working in the pros. And for a long time, NFL drafted quarterbacks and said, okay, you adjust to us. We don't adjust to you. And I think Patrick's a good example. He got a coach like Andy Reid, and Andy said, what do you like? What do you do well? And the first thing he's going to say is what he did all those years at Texas Tech and all the gazillion yards he threw for in high school. Hey, I like these patterns. I like this kind of offense. Why not run that? And coaches are now doing that.
I was going to say, is Andy different in that regard than maybe a run-of-the-mill coach?
No, I think the whole NFL is doing that.
I got you.
Look at Jaden Daniels in Washington.
Yeah.
Did you watch him at LSU much last year? I would challenge people to show me a gigantic difference between what he did at LSU last year and what he's doing right now at Washington, because to me they look pretty damn close.
Interesting.
Wow, that's a great point, Randy.
Hey, Randy, thank you so much as always for joining us. Great stuff, and we really enjoy talking to you.
Anytime. Always great to be on in the Bay Area.
All righty. That's Randy Cross, 3-time Super Bowl champion. And, of course, he came courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands in Lathrop?